What's up, family? Welcome back to the Stop Sinking Show, where we go from struggle to flow. What do you think is the difference maker in life between different people? Why do you think some people find their genius, find their purpose, find what to dedicate their life to, find what gets them going, find what is fulfilling, versus the majority of us who limp towards the upcoming days instead of leaping into the upcoming days? What do you think we are missing? Why are we not as resolute towards our missions? Why have we not discovered similar, durable reasons to live? Maybe something that even gives us a hint of meaning. To answer this question, we have to go back to the beginning. Not just any beginning, but to our beginning and the beginning of others. Because comparing current status, current states, is almost not helpful, because it misses the path each person took to get to where they are. And if we're really to investigate the answer of what lands a few people to purpose and the rest of us to pain, it would be disingenuous or incomplete or totally lost in the emotion of your misery if you cannot clearly look for and investigate from an objective lens. If you really want the answer and are willing to apply it to yourself, then you have to look at how these people get there so that you can make those same adjustments in your life, or at the least, just acknowledge and accept the reason for why you are where you are. The answers will lead to things you don't want to admit about yourself. They will give you anxiety, make you want to run away, distract yourself back. And every time you do that, you commit to your own pain and widen the gap between you and your purpose. We're not used to looking at these people from an objective lens because it reveals horrific things about us we spend half of our life trying to avoid. We attribute their success to luck, to giftedness, to maybe even less savory things that evoke strong emotions like greed, manipulation, evil. They're only successful because they took advantage of somebody. We consider all these things because it allows us the comfortable distance to maintain between our shortcomings and our favorite delusions. So what does starting at the beginning help with? It helps to look at how they got to where they are. No one is born any more special than anyone else. Very few people are naturally gifted in the thing that they end up doing for the rest of their life. Sure, there are those Olympic athletes and talented young musicians who seemingly come out of the womb with skill and rhythm. And while that does happen every now and then, even in the small percentage of people who live life purposefully, the ones who are born into that purpose is even a smaller percentage of that small percentage. I think even with these talented kids, you will find the common thread of our discussion today. So what is it that leads to them ending up in their outlier state, in their extraordinary success? Even if we define success in loose terms, even if we just define it as not being like the rest, even statistically, we can talk about the exceptions, the few, without having to define what success exactly is. I don't want to impose on you that success looks a certain way. I don't mistake the trappings of success as success. It is not the car or house or material wealth. It's that inner drive, that life force energy that a person has when they are living in their true calling, their vocation. And it matters very little to me whether that person is a billionaire overlooking Laguna Beach, or a robed man meditating at the top of a mountain, a mother who is fully engaged and joyous in the raising of her children, or a teacher who genuinely serves as guidance to his students. All these people are rare, the exception. And if you're in any of these places where you feel you contribute your very best every day to the world around you, and that knowing then causes you to wake up every day with a drive that most of us don't have, then to me, you are successful. I don't care what's in your pockets. You are in the 1% of people. And I can't think of a better way to live life. The thing we can't get away from is how. How did they get there? How did they find that thing that makes them wake up with that emotional energy daily? And so the name of the game is an emotional one. The quality of your life is the quality of your emotions. And so it begs the question, if one wanted to find themselves with just as much peace, just as much pizzazz, to have as much love for living life, to live in that knowing that they are contributing every day, how do I get there? What did they do to get there? And the idea of zone of genius comes to mind. Usually a person is most engaged in life when they are in their zone of genius. And that doesn't just mean they're doing what they're good at. It's a little more nuanced than that. They are doing just a little bit more than what they are good at. They are living and playing in the area that allows them to push to the edges of what they are good at currently. So they develop the thing that they can become better at. And so a lot of it comes down to time spent in that zone. And that's why the beginning matters, because where did they spend all of their time and how much of it was in that zone? And this relates to something I've talked about even on episode 2 of this podcast, the idea of time accumulation and how you only become the things you have clocked in time on. And even in that, people can separate themselves because one person can get way more out of 1 hour than another person can based on their aptitude and interest. But it still comes back down to time and attention and the managing of that time and attention. It's the loose idea of the 10,000 hour rule. So obviously, the more you practice something, the better you are at it. So is that the difference maker? Is that the secret thing that I think leads to these wide differences in people living in their purpose while the majority of us drift through life hoping to run into our purpose somewhere? Is that the secret? Yes and no. While the time accumulated is the downline effect of the secret, it is not exactly the meat and bones of it all. I'll break the answer to you simply. The thing that I think makes the most difference is desire, which beats out discipline every day of the week. Discipline might be helpful to get you started, to get you to show up in the beginning, but if you rely on it too much, it will wear you out. Over time, the thing that you first applied discipline to cannot keep relying on the muscle of discipline to keep going. Your job is to use that disciplined season to find other emotions that will allow you to transcend the requirement of discipline, the requirement of forcing yourself to do it like a drill sergeant. It's not a sustainable emotion to rely upon. And when you fail along the way, which you will, when you fall off the wagon, fall off your discipline, which you will, if you didn't use the moments where discipline brought you in the room to find and build something longer lasting, an emotion that you can rely on, then you just plainly will not reach the time accumulation requirements to be extraordinary. I've tried my entire life to hate and loathe and shame myself into changing, into getting myself to do something. It doesn't work. It is a substandard strategy. The only real hope out of feeling like you are forcing yourself to show up is finding a personal connection to it that makes you want to show up. And because so many things in life are infinite games that you cannot stop showing up to, so many then cannot just be tied to results and seeing the fruits of your labor right away. That's not why you play infinite games. The fruits of your time spent can't be looked for right away because so many things just require you to keep showing up and keep accumulating time to get better and better all the way to best, maybe, that you are almost required to fall in love with the process. You have to build your love story. You have to figure out a genuine, truthful connection to what it is that you are doing that lights you up, that excites you, that makes you enthusiastic, that relies on the durability of your desire. The real secret then is cultivating enthusiasm, nourishing the excitement that you feel, even the glimmer of feeling, that you then work to try and feel more and find more inside of you. You have to find that thing that gets you excited. Because without the inner drive, there's no way anything on the outside will move you. That you will ever do things long enough to make them matter in any meaningful way. The other day, I was watching the SpaceX Starship launch. And after I watched it live, I showed the replay to my 8-year-old nephew. I was literally in glee from watching it. I was in awe at what I was blessed enough to witness. It's literally history in the making and really cool. And so I was sharing my excitement with my nephew and telling him how I wished at one point to have become a rocket scientist or an engineer of some sort. And in that conversation, he said that he can still become a rocket scientist, right? Since he's so young, he still has time. And my answer to him was, yes, you can become anything as long as you get excited about it, as long as it feels like fun to you, that you want to do it all the time. And this was a true reflection from having to regrettably admit why I didn't become an engineer or any of the other 100 things that I wish I would have been. If I was to trace it back to any true fact, it's because I was distracted with all the other things that excited me so much more. When I was his age, or even much older, I just went from one thing, one excitement, to the next excitement, to the next thing, never being able to cultivate my excitement in one thing long enough to have made it or myself anything worthwhile in those regards, in that area. Really, my distractions just made it impossible to clock in hours in one area because my time was being spread across thin on several of my interests. None of them deep enough. None of them with enough excitement in me that I wanted to do them all the time. And so I didn't become those things. And so that is what I wish to share with my nephew. Because if he cannot find it in himself to get excited by his homework, to get excited by reading, to get excited by coding, engineering problems, if he, like all of us that have this problem, only gets excited and easily consumed by YouTube, TikTok, and video games, then the chances of him or any of us becoming a rocket scientist or anything else that we want to be, those chances go out the window. He will squander that possibility. 1 10-second reel or short video at a time. We are so outgunned to the machine. Our brains are being targeted by billions of dollars. And the sole purpose of these distractions is to keep you with the 99% of people who consume. And so their entire life and potential is consumed by it. My friend who I go to the gym with said something to me the other day that bothered me about his take on working out. He said he doesn't enjoy it. He does it because it's necessary, because he knows he should. And while exercise is painful and uncomfortable for all of us, there's no chance you will continue to keep it an active part of your life if you think it's something you just should do instead of enjoy doing. There's a physical and emotional requirement to everything you take on in life. If you want to be a coder, you have to have the personality type and adjust your lifestyle to be able to sit for multiple hours at a time at your desk uninterrupted. If you have to get up every 20 minutes to smoke or deal with whatever fire your life requires, then the chances of you having accumulated enough time and effort to be an exceptional coder is highly unlikely. This is just a requirement. If you cannot stand for hours on your feet, or walk extensively, or lift a certain amount of weight, then you cannot perform certain jobs. Everything has a requirement, and so does being exceptional. It requires the ability to cultivate your emotions in the positive direction with intent. It will not happen on accident. Even if you actually enjoy working out, you will still be surpassed by people who enjoy it more, who enjoy it longer, who enjoy it with higher intensity, with higher volume. The differences will be made in how much emotional excitement and enthusiasm you cultivate in that area, enough to bring more and more of yourself to it. You cannot enforce greatness out of you. It has to be invited. And you can only invite it to an environment it actually wants to be in. Your greatness wants to be in an environment that's fun and full of joy. Good luck in trying to have the best version of you show up to the dumpster truck fire of a life you currently have. He will not show up. And even if he does, he will not stay. And so anything I've gotten better at, including coming on here and talking about specific topics, it wasn't discipline that got me to almost 400 episodes. Maybe discipline got me to the first 100 to build it into my life, but it was the deeper connection I found while doing those first 100 that has built the desire in me to actually want to come on here, to want to express myself. I don't do this because I think I should. I do it because I want to, because I enjoy doing it, because I also bask in the idea that someone listening to this might actually find it useful and helpful. My friend even asked me, do you think coders who sit for hours do it because they have to do it or because they enjoy it? And I knew the answer because I have spent 10 plus hours playing my guitar or also on the computer coding or solving a problem, going down rabbit holes. I've spent the last 2 decades reading, saving quotes, then sharing them online, then adding to that desire and coming up with concise titles for the entire idea that the quotes represent, and the constraints with that title having to be alliterated and 2 words only. No one asked me to do any of this. I didn't think I should. I just did it because I enjoy it, because it fulfills my desire to express, because I think it's helpful, because it scratches the itch of needing to create and make sense of things in fewer and fewer words with semantic understandings. And accidentally, I developed skills while doing that. No one can force you to be great, to develop, to grow. You have to choose to be great. You have to choose to keep walking into new doors and into new places. They say a true genius is a mind of large general powers accidentally determined in some particular direction. The particular direction part of this quote is the focused area in which time is being accumulated and expertise is being fostered and genius is being cultivated. The determined part of this quote, though, is where it all hinges. It's the determination, accidental or otherwise, the desire, the enthusiasm, the emotion that then leads to the rest of your climb. If there is something you are not already today that you at one time wished you were, the answer lies in your focus, where your energy is leaking. And you cannot force yourself to focus. You can coerce yourself to. You can invite yourself to. You can be a good host. You can be a good caretaker of the environment you create so that whatever it is that you choose to plant, any purpose you wish to realize, can be watered and nurtured and cultivated with excitement, with joy, with resounding enthusiasm that is felt in every room that you enter. I love you, family. Stay true always. I see you on the next show.